Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of What's Next with V. This episode is part of the podcast series that we're doing in collaboration with TiEBangalore, wherein we capture stories of entrepreneurs who are kind of building behind the scenes, who are building quietly, but really adding immense impact and value to society. In this episode, we have a special guest. We have Akshita Sachdeva, who is a first gen social entrepreneur, a TEDx speaker, co founder at Trestle Labs, kind of a pioneer in the assistive tech space. Over the years, she and her team have won numerous prestigious social impact awards. I'm curious to know and hear about her story. I'm Vishal Ramaswamy, the V in What's Next with V, your host as always. Great. Akshita, jumping right in, quite a unique story. I'm sure you've already inspired quite a few in your limited journey so far. And I'm sure you're going to be an inspiration to multiple people going further. You did your engineering, post which did a few fellowships, and right now, obviously, building Trestle Labs. And you've always focused on creative impact for the visually challenged people or typically the disabled folks in the country. We have quite a few in our country and across the globe. I'm sure the listeners would like to know your story since your graduation and what kind of inspired you to kind of get into this journey.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vishal, for having me here. And I think it has been an interesting journey, but it wouldn't have started if there was not the inspiration point that happened in my life. So, as I studied computer science engineering, and during the third year of my engineering, all enthusiastic, excited engineers are, I started working on a college project. It was more like a hand glove for the visually impaired that had obstacle detection sensors on the fist with a little vibratory motor on the wrist to give them directions for navigation, and it also had a camera on the index finger so they could just point anywhere and it would read things for them, describe the scene for them. So what so it was more like tech stuff, and I had built it as a multi-utility reading and navigation device. Things really changed for me when I took it to a National Association for the Blind in Delhi. And there was this little kid. He started using it and he was like, I want to talk to my dad about this. So he called his dad, and we were just listening to his conversation. So, me and my team. And he said, Dad, some scientists have come to my school and they have built gloves for all of us. So now I can read, I can travel on my own. And his dad was equally shocked and surprised. So seconds later, he just turned around to me and he said, Didi, मैं ये कब ले पाऊंगा? Like, sister, when can I have this? And that really kept me shut for a while. I was not able to answer him, so I just said, I'll think about it, we'll let you know, and so on. And I was back home, but that question never really left me, so it just stayed with me and motivated me to give up on the placement offers that I had from different IT companies to really build something for him, and not just for him but for other children, kids, or persons with visual impairment who face similar challenges like him, and just leverage how technology could play a role in bringing more opportunities or equal access to opportunities in the education and employment space for people like him. So that's how this journey started. Right after my college, I applied to Impact Square, which is a Nashik based pre incubation center. It's a TCS Foundation initiative that essentially cherry picks like 40, 50 socially motivated individuals every year and grooms them to become social entrepreneurs over a period of 12 to 18 months, full of immersion, innovation, impact. And that was where I met my today co-founders, and we were able to build that together from there.
Wow, inspiring story, Akshita. I think that the story that inspired you is quite emotional as well, right? The question that innocent boy
Really.
asked you. And I think that those are the moments that kind of make or break, right? Like that kind of shaped your path, that single question from that kid. So, taking it further, I'm sure you've been building Trestle Labs for over 6 years now, and obviously won major awards and been recognized globally. Apart from that, obviously you're adding so much impact and value to the visually challenged. So, it would be good to hear, along with your co-founder, it'd be good to hear your story, how you started building, what are different products that you have built so far, and like an overview of the impact you have created.
Sure. So for me, when I joined Digital Impact Square, that's when I got introduced to my co-founder Bonnie, and also our mentor Mr. Bhanu Prasad, who is a who is a expert from TCS and our impact innovation coach as well. So that's where we almost like had a whole journey of unlearning and relearning. So it's like as engineers, you look at a problem and you just start solving it, right? But
True.
as an entrepreneur, the story is entirely different. You need to look at the problem, understand the problem, empathize with the problem, get into your users' shoes to understand it better, and that's when you start developing. So for us, the first 6 months at Digital Impact Square was when we traveled across 5 different cities, met 150 visually impaired individuals, all the way from early grade visually impaired users to people pursuing PhDs, housewives working and cooking in a kitchen, or visually impaired people working at banks, preparing for competitive exams, and everything to get a whole some picture of what it looks like and what are some of the challenges that they face day in day out. And that almost broke through a lot of the assumptions that we had as engineers. Okay, maybe they face challenge in crossing a road, but then we met visually impaired people who were traveling in a Mumbai local every single day for the 10 years of their job. So I think some of the assumptions that we have as as someone who is not visually impaired are can only be broken when you really immerse yourself in that journey.
True.
And that's what happened to us for the first 6 months of starting out. And we met this young girl called Dipali during one of those interactions. So till 17 years of her age, when she was pursuing her first semester of BA, she was sighted. And right when she was about to enter her second semester, within a week, due to some health condition of, sorry, having a fever that puts pressure on her optic nerve, she went blind within a week. And
Wow.
that was a big setback for her emotionally, personally, even for her parents. And they didn't really know how to handle this. So someone told, you should go to a blind school, she should learn Braille. So she tried doing that for 2 years. But as a late blind individual, learning Braille from scratch, like ABC, is like too hard. And she failed at it. Finally she tried to get back to education, some for higher education. Again, she faced a lot of rejections, denials from admissions, because the organization or the institution could no longer cater to her needs as a visually impaired student. Now after a lot of back and forth, like 5 years of her life got wasted in unawareness, and finally she was able to get admission in an open university, got printed books from her college, had to go to an NGO to get it audio recorded, which typically took like 4 to 6 weeks just for one 300-page book. And her parents, because they were not able to read her books to her, considering their background, she had to rely a lot on these kind of services. That what we and when we met her and also her fellows at the National Federation of the Blind in Nashik, that's where we were working out of. um, we realized the problem is common, like because they don't have access to content, a lot of times they drop out from education, resulting in whole vicious circle of lack of equal opportunities in the education and employment space. For us, we would also wonder when she goes to office to work, she cannot expect her official documents to come to her in Braille or audio form, right? So that whole layer of digital literacy of how can any content, whether it's a printed document, whether it's a handwritten note that somebody passed on to you, or as a student, you borrow notes from your peers. And whether it's a PDF document that some of your colleagues shared in the office, how can all of that become seamlessly accessible? So I think that was what set the foundation as a problem statement that we wanted to solve with Trestle Labs, to bring or to make education and employment inclusive for persons with blindness, low vision, and persons with visual impairment, by making any kind of content like printed, handwritten, digital accessible through audio in real time. So that is what we started with, and that has been the foundation for the last 6 years of running this. Initially, what we realized was, for the first prototype that we built back in October 2017, that was like first 10 months of us starting this journey. When we took our prototype to the nearby NGO, National Association for the Blind in Nashik, they took us to a room. They showed us another product that they had imported from the US to a donor partner, and they said nobody is using this, but this is a good product. And we were like, okay, what's the challenge? Because it's you have imported it, and it looks pretty fine. So they said this can only read English, but our kids have their books in Marathi, so that's why nobody uses it. And that gave us our new problem statement, like how can we make serve the unserved and underserved languages, which are Indian languages, maybe African languages, Asian languages, or serving the global South in general. So I think those were some of the key learnings that we had, and all over this. And finally, in terms of the product suite, we built an entire spectrum of product suite that's called Kibo, which is knowledge in a box. And it could do mainly everything that we just spoke. So it's an AI powered patented technology that could make any kind of printed, handwritten, or digital content accessible across 60 global languages today,
Wow.
including 13 Indian languages. And that's what we do today. And we have different products in the suite. So we have a mobile application, that's Kibo mobile application on Android and Play Store. That's essentially a lifestyle tool. So we started with lifestyle with the mobile application. For anything that's on their phone around them, they can take a picture, they can click on any, share any PDF or image that they receive on WhatsApp with Kibo, and it would read it for them. The next segment is education. So for the education and employment sector, we built a talking table lamp-like device called Kibo Access device, which magically reads anything that's placed under it, and catering to the segment of when we have to prepare for competitive exams, higher education, or for everyone like Dipali, they don't have to necessarily wait or spend 4 to 6 weeks just waiting for one book to come to them, and they could just keep it under that lamp and just start reading with that. And again, for the last bit, which is the employment segment, we also built a web-based software called Keyboard Desk, which is what visually impaired employees use to access any kind of digital documents, which is you can just drag and drop a PDF or like an image file, which is typically scanned. So scanned PDFs cannot be read by any kind of screen readers, but with Keyboard Desk, it would read all of them. So just as an example, one of our users, Miss Sudesh, now is working at RBI in the grievance redressal department. She would get like handwritten applications in the form of scanned PDFs from the customers, and she would be able to read it using Keyboard Desk and pass it on to the right grievance department for redressal purposes. So I think a lot of it is around how can we cover the entire spectrum. So the lifestyle, education, and employment, and handhold them through the entire journey with Kibo as well.
Akshita, quite impressive. I think one thing that you mentioned was the empathizing the problem, right? That's the most
Yeah.
kind of difficult part, because you don't experience it, because we can see everything, and we are visually like, fortunately we can see, right? Empathizing that, getting that problem statement, understanding that, and going to the depths. I think that's the think once you understand that, I think the journey becomes a little bit more simpler. And the other thing that you have kind of targeted is the entire, as you said, the entire spectrum, entire life cycle. Like a visually impaired
Yeah.
person might would need it for education to get themselves educated, empowered, and then maybe obviously they might go into a corporate post that, and you have a product for them. So I think you've really captured the entire journey, and I can just imagine the impact that you're creating. Actually, going to my next question, I'm sure this would have added to your journey. I mean, your entire LinkedIn is full of awards, and quite prestigious ones. I just wanted to understand that journey. Did you guys apply for those awards, or did you get recognized? How was that journey on the awards bit? Has it helped you in your journey, those recognitions? And also your Thai global pitch, the Thai women global pitch that you did, would be good if you could share that with the listeners.
Absolutely. I think for us, the awards and recognitions have, been a testimony to the work and the impact that it's creating across the globe. And that's something that not only helps us with the recognition, but it's more also about the support that comes in from different partners for scale up. So for example, when we received the DBS Foundation grant, we leveraged it to enhance our impact in the Asian region. When we got the support from MIT Solve through their MIT Solve Class of 2022 program, which we got selected for, that was our step into catering to the challenges in the US market, and can Kibo find a use case there. So I think those all of those awards, whether it's MIT Solve for the US, DBS for the Asia Impact, a recent one which is Bear Foundation's a women empowerment award that I received for the European expansion that we're doing right now, or whether it's the another award that we received from Prosus Group, which was targeted towards our Africa impact. So I think all of them, have come with a certain set of network that the partners bring in. The market access becomes easier. We are able to reach out to a certain geography in a targeted way, and take all the necessary steps to expand to a certain geography. So while we get there, I would also like to share where we are today. So while we launched Kibo as a product in June 2019, Kibo today is empowering around 100,000 visually impaired individuals across education, employment, and all the age groups, right from age 5 to 59. And talking about in terms of institutions, so we have made 600 plus institutions inclusive, which includes Indian, all the way from Indian Parliament Library to IITs, IIMs, central state universities, private colleges, universities, NGOs, corporates. So that whole spectrum, ensuring that with one single product at a place, we are able to create a bigger impact. So that's where we are. We have also exported Kibo to 9 other countries today, and we now have distributors in 30 countries across the globe with our distribution partners for Kibo. So that's where a lot of support comes from partners and awards and the grants that we win, because that helps us in setting the soil fertile to have an impact in a particular geography. So that's how we have been leveraging the support and recognition. And the recent one, I think the one that we spoke about was from Thai. So Thai Women Global Pitch Competition. I'm really happy to represent TiEBangalore for the global finale happening in Singapore in November, and I'm all excited for it. And I hope that this again will give me not just an opportunity to present at a global scale, global stage, but also help us make more people aware about the work that we are doing, build that network support channel and distribution channel going further, to be able to scale what we built it in India across the globe. And one thing which you said stays common, that we did not build it for the visually impaired community, we built it with them, and that's what helps us stay relevant, not just for the users in India, but also for the users across the globe that Kibo is catering to now. And yeah, I'm very excited for the pitch happening next month. Very
Awesome.
excited to meet women entrepreneurs from all over the globe, all across other Thai chapters as well. So yeah, just wish me luck.
And absolutely, congrats and all the best for the pitch in Singapore. And I think Akshita, you mentioned I like the way you have guys have actually strategized your awards. Like you use those awards and recognition in a way to kind of enter the markets also, right? I think I'm sure listeners could use this. Obviously, it depends on the sector you're in, but I think in especially sectors in yours where there's immense social impact, I think this could be a great way to enter newer markets and expand. On that note, I'm sure. I mean, this all sounds very rosy, and the impact you've created, and the journey so far that you've built for Trestle Labs. But I'm sure there would have been a lot of challenges that would have come from various aspects, right? It could be from the market, it could be from the product, it could be from obviously your users as well. I'm sure you would have obviously faced it. You would have come out with innovative solutions. Would be good for listeners out there, especially women entrepreneurs out there, to kind of obviously understand those challenges that you have faced. I'm sure it won't be the same, but people could at least understand the essence on how you guys kind of overcame those challenges. So would be good to hear your challenges and how you guys came out of it.
Okay, you're almost taking me back on a flashback journey of all the ups and downs. But I would quickly like to summarize it in the three major challenges come mitigation ways that we have figured out over the years. So I think the first challenge that any social enterprise faces, because you're doing impact and you want to make business out of it,
True.
is something. And the first challenge was, how do we create that gentle balance between the two things? A lot of times when
Mhm.
people look at disability as a sector, they look at it from a charity lens, and okay, if you're working in the space, maybe you're a not for profit. So I think that clear distinction of what our goals are. So for us, we wanted to create an impact and make it sustainable, and not just stop it maybe if some donation doesn't come through. So for
Mhm.
us, we want, and what we realized was also the visually impaired segment that we were catering to wanted to pay for things, own things, and that's what made them felt satisfied. There was one user, and we met him and asked him about his aspiration, and he was like, I want to become a taxpayer. So that's the kind of
Wow,
expectations
man.
they have. So for us, that was the challenge of, should we register as a not for profit, or should we take it as a for profit business enterprise? And we chose the later one, making sure that our impact, we create an impact and do it in a really sustainable strategic way, expanding it in a slow, steady, but with by laying strong foundations on the ground. So that is something that came as a first challenge. How do we change the lens from a charity lens to a business impact lens in the assistive tech or in the disability sector? The second challenge, which also we came across, was a lot of times in the assistive tech sector, your customer and your beneficiary would be two different people, like the person who pays and the person who uses it. So
True.
in our case, almost 80% of our business comes from B2B channels, which is schools, colleges, universities, NGOs, or corporates buying it for their institutions, for their employees, visually impaired employees, and all of that. So for us to convince a customer to present something that could benefit a beneficiary, was there was always a slight gap. So a lot of times we would visit educational institutions, and they were like, we just have five visually impaired and they are able to manage their way, so should we really invest for them? And that was where we had to tweak our product, tweak our pitch presentations. For us, we had to, earlier the product could just do one thing, which is you keep anything under that lamp and it would read it. That was listening. that did not sound like a really lucrative feature to invest in. The additional things that we added, so changing the product was a mitigation strategy. So there we added the next three features of the product, which is, first was of course listening, second was translation. So we told that if you place an English book and you want to hear in French, Spanish, or maybe Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, Kannada, you could do all of that. And that's what made people
Wow.
interested, because of the whole concept that national education policy is bringing in now around, making education institutions inclusive, for persons with disabilities, as well as for people from different linguistic backgrounds. So that whole concept of multilingualism in education is also paving the way, and hence translation served as a thing in there, in that aspect. Third feature that we added was digitization. So digitization is a major need across all educational and enterprise institutions, wherein you scan a document and you can get it in, as a Word file, as a searchable PDF, which is like, most of the times when we scan PDFs using a phone or like a bigger scanning machine, they just give you a photo based PDF. But with Kibo, you could digitize it in a searchable PDF manner, and that was really helping serve lots of needs. And the fourth one, which we added, was audiotization. So that basically means you could place a book, like flip 100 pages, click download as MP3, and that would give you an audiobook in a couple of minutes. So that
Wow.
just meant the wait time that Dipali had for like 4 to 6 weeks just for one book is reduced to less than 30 minutes, and that was what we were eyeing at. So I think the when your customers and beneficiaries different, especially in the assistive technology sector, like there's a 80-20 split between 80 for B2B and 20 for B2C. You really need to cater to the needs of your customer while benefiting your beneficiary. So you have to tweak your product just like how we did, and then present it as not a solution for the visually impaired, but a solution for making education inclusive in general for them. So I think that was the second thing. The third challenge which we faced, and we are still navigating it, is how do we scale this impact? So I think internationally we have figured out the strategic way of working with our grant partners or our fellowship providers, or some of the awards that recognize us as a way to enter into foreign markets or international markets. Talking about our impact in India, which we are still deepening our impact in India, which are still navigating, is through government partnerships. So we partnered with the Karnataka, Panchayati Raj Commissionerate, for example, and they are creating they're making rural public libraries into beacon libraries. So beacon just means disabled friendly. So earlier we did a small pilot with them across 6 districts with the support of AssistiveTech Foundation and HDFC, which was super impactful, and that opened up a completely new market for us. Not just for visually impaired, it was helping, but it was also creating a big change in the lives of people, like children, or rural youth and rural children who faced language barriers. Like they could read Kannada, but they could not read English, for example. So they could now read their English books in Kannada. Or even for the foundational level literacy, where there were people who were sighted but they were not literate. So they could just pick any newspaper from the library, and they could scan it and it would read it in whichever language they want. So I think those were a couple of things that we identified, especially to deepen our impact within India and take it to the rural segments, as not just a tool for, you know, addressing the print disability barriers, but something that could also address the literacy and language barriers for them. So I think those were a couple of areas that we are navigating now with, and thankfully with the support of the Karnataka Panchayati Raj Commissionerate, they have now extended the project, which was earlier for 165 libraries within Karnataka, to 2,000 rural public beacon libraries now. So that's something
Wow.
that we feel is a great step in this direction. And similarly, we continue to work with other state governments like Delhi and Maharashtra, and just trying to engage with more of them to see how can we work with the education department, disability department, and other departments in the space, so that we can bring an inclusive access to for education and employment for everyone. So yeah, that's typically my advice to the women in entrepreneurship as well. Like, although I'm not a person who associates gender with entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship has its own challenges and they don't
True,
really look at what gender you have. They are
true.
common across. And but my advice would really be that there will be hurdles, there will be challenges. Just stay the course, and the journey will be worth it. That's all that I have to add on that.
Awesome, Akshita, awesome tips for the entrepreneurs. I think, as you said, right, these challenges, if I see it, these challenges actually kind of made you stronger in a way, right? Kind of
Yeah.
opened up newer markets, open new opportunities. I think one thing I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on was the first point you mentioned, right? The social impact versus a profit-oriented kind of a setup. I good that
Yeah.
that you went on the profitable and kind of a sustainable model more than a donation-based, NGO-based model, especially in the areas of education, health, and the social impact areas. Typically, get kind of confused between an NGO versus a profit-making organization, and typically overlap is very, very less. So good that you took the path of sustainable, profitable kind of a system rather than the other. So you don't have to depend on externalities. So I think that's very critical. I think that point is pretty critical for entrepreneurs who want to kind of get into this space. Actually, on that note, on my last question, which is basically the theme of my podcast, which is what's next, right? I think you have already done so much. Like I can't even imagine in my career adding so much impact. I've had like over 12 years of experience, but I'm nowhere compared to the impact that you guys have created. So you've done already so much. You have kind of impacted over 100,000 lives through your products, to your obviously new features that you're introducing in these products. Would be good to hear how you have thought of building Trestle Labs over the next 3 5 years, or maybe over 10-year period. Would be good to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely. I think the journey of last 6 years has been exciting. Lots of learnings, lot of people that we found on the way, whether as a part of our team, network, and connections, and even mentorship. But I think what looks next for us as a company is how do we leverage technology to serve more needs of in the education and employment space. So I think while we started with visually impaired community as a segment, right now we are seeing there are challenges in the education and employment space, not just for them, but also for people who face language barriers, people who face literacy barriers. So I think whatever technology can do to make for us almost being at the intersection of assistive technology and education technology, and bringing both the areas together to see how best we can take this journey forward by leveraging technology to serve bigger better needs. That's the first one, which is on the tech side. Second one that we are looking at, especially in terms of what's next, is to scale up internationally. So for that, we are seeking partners, supporters, or distribution partners who can help us scale in a particular geography with their expertise and resources. And yeah, and the third one that we are right now looking at is in terms of deepening our impact within India. So that would, of course, need a lot of connections and relations in the government segment by talking to different government departments at state and central levels, while seeing how best we can serve those needs and deepen our impact within rural parts of India, or even tier two, tier three parts of India as well. So I think these are the three areas that we are on the what's next list. Definitely leveraging tech, growing our team. Second one is scaling internationally through partnerships, and the third one being deepening our impact in India again through government and philanthropic channels. So I think those are on the what's next list,
Awesome.
and maybe next time we speak, we'll have more.
Yeah, awesome. I think you seem pretty sorted. I think your team is well shaped to kind of achieve those targets and goals. I think on your first bit on, I like the way how you're overlapping the ed tech and assistive tech. I think that's the natural progression, right? Once you have given them technology to access whatever they want to access. It could be a book, it could be maybe an audio podcast. From there, kind of moving into a edtech kind of a world, right? I'm sure not many companies are
Absolutely.
working to create an edtech venture across for the visually challenged or disabled folks per se. So I think that graduation or that journey would be quite interesting. How you kind of marry the assistive tech with education tech. Akshita, I think a very inspirational moment for me, right? Because you're the first one that I'm interviewing on the impact space, and I think the work that you're doing and your team is doing, all the very best from our side. I think you have a superb journey so far. I think with going ahead with everyone's support, I think we see a lot of support from the governments and, as you said, the partners across globally. I think there is a lot of emphasis on kind of tapping this segment, right? The visually challenged. I think they are immensely talented, and they can really add value to the economy also in the way, right? Once they're empowered and they're
Yes.
educated, I think the value that they add to various countries is exponential. So good to see that partners also supporting in your journey. What I can say is all the best. Any help from our side, we're happy to support you in your journey. Akshita, once again, thanks a lot for being part of What's Next with We.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vishal. It is a pleasure being here.